Ah, Charlie's Italian Bistro. It's fitting that Kent Weed is an executive producer because we're gonna need a boatload of the devil's lettuce to get through this. And that's just us. Imagine how much of the smoky cabbage that the employees were going through to have to even show up to work. And I know, smoky cabbage is not a real word for the... But, you know, at this point, we're gonna have to make up new substances to even get through this.
Oh my god!
You're here with H, and today, you're also here with Charlie's. We start off with the owner, Tatiana, explaining her connection to the restaurant.
I started working here 10 years ago. I was a waitress here. And then I had the opportunity to take it over, but I didn't have the money or the collateral.
All right, cool. I'm picking up what you're putting down. We got sort of a humble beginnings type vibe here. Something you'd see in a Hallmark movie. Someone down on their luck, struggling with their 9 to 5, being presented with a wondrous opportunity. But I already have a question. When she was presented with this opportunity, do you think she actually wanted it? I would love to know her mind frame or her mindset. Mind frame sounds like some sort of PlayStation 2 game about hacking. But I would have loved to know her mindset back in that moment, because that's a big jump. I would assume she really wanted it, because if you're willing to risk running a restaurant, you gotta want it, surely. Especially when you factor in that she didn't really have the money or anything to really fall back on. So you're probably asking, how does she even buy the restaurant? Well, she leaned on her mum and sister, and the leaning in question is so strong, it would make the Tower of Pisa jealous.
Pat and Val, both full-time school teachers, financed the restaurant and put their houses up as collateral.
You what now? Because I can't be the only one thinking that's a bold move. I understand taking risks is what makes you money. Or that's what the people in the turtlenecks who stand with their hands like this say. You know, they give all sorts of sermons on making money and all that stuff. So that's what they say. I get it. I also understand wanting to see someone you care about chase their dreams. Or supposed dream. Because I'm still asking at this point, do you really want this? To be able to, well, essentially ruin or, you know, put an asterisk on your mum and sister's livelihoods in the future. You know, please, you've got to want this, surely. That's a lot of trust to put in someone. Granted, you know, they're family and whatnot, but that's a lot of trust to put in someone. Speaking of trust, why did they put their trust in Tatiana? Val, her sister, explains, and I'm triggered.
My mom and I don't know about the restaurant business, and so we put a lot of trust in my sister's experience to run the restaurant.
As someone who hasn't really had the most extensive experience in the hospitality industry, I've had so little experience, I couldn't even pronounce hospitality correctly. How often do people go from a waiter/waitress to running the joint? And if there are many cases of it happening, you know, how often does it work out? When I worked in retail, for example, sure, I mean, I worked my way up to becoming a supervisor, but I feel like being a supervisor is totally outweighed by being the owner of a restaurant. That jump is too big, okay? Tatiana's doing long jump, going for world records. It's a ballsy move. Although, maybe I can backtrack a little bit, because working there for 10 years, I guess you would pick up things here and there. But I believe picking up things here and there under the shadow of someone, for example, isn't the same as you being in the hot seat. Do you know what I mean? You're in the hot seat, your ass is ablaze. In comparison to, you're chilling in the shade of yeah. It's a big step. Let me know in the comments if you've been through anything similar or someone in your workplace has made such a crazy jump that you're thinking, whoa, you're gonna hurt your knees because, knees when you jump. Let me know in the comments. Regardless of all this, you can make it work with a stroke of luck or, the knowledge of the industry like the back of your hand or something like that. So I'm interested. What has she done to the restaurant since taking over from the previous owners?
I didn't want to change the menu or the chef. I just wanted to keep it as is because I love this restaurant.
I don't think that's what you should be doing. Hear me out, because I get it. I haven't had the most extensive work experience in hospitality, but it seems like she's made a decision based on her heart, her feelings, rather than results. I could understand not changing anything if everything was working, but shock horror, you're on kitchen nightmares, so I don't think the restaurant's working. Also, I believe that no matter what in life, there's always gonna come a point where you have to adapt or get left behind. Like, restaurant or not, there are times, and I can't speak for everyone, of course, but there have been times in my life where we have to make a change. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes that change comes alongside the fact that you don't want to make that change because you don't feel like making that change. But that's where you gotta have it within yourself, the strength, the mental fortitude, to take that step back and ask yourself, what am I really scared of here? Am I scared of making the change? Or am I scared that the change won't work? And then you ask yourself, how will I know if it won't work if I don't go for it? There's a life lesson in there for maybe some of us to take with us. Don't be afraid to make that step. Val goes on to mention that there will be some times where she's sitting there all day and the most tables she will get is 4. And nothing is fantastic about that, I can tell you that much, because she goes on to say that, of course, shock horror, that wouldn't even cover the cost of electricity in the restaurant. And might I add, that was back then, many years ago. Imagine that now, in today's economy. The amount of times the financial state of the world has been flushed down the toilet so many times. The skid marks, they're just not going anywhere. That's how effed up the whole economic state of the world is. Imagine nowadays, like shock horror, I didn't expect 4 tables of customers to cover electricity costs. But imagine that now. Just, the mind boggles. Not in a good way. I don't even think there's a good way of mind boggling, but it wouldn't be here. Also, just to get this in, because I feel like I have to do it because I like making stupid jokes. Imagine 4 tables only nowadays. You run a restaurant. Honestly, you're not even covering the costs of breathing. Yeah, take a deep breath. Genuinely. You go outside in London, for example, you step 1 foot out the door, you've spent £50, bro. I don't know how, but it's gone. There's a part where they're all huddled, and I'll show the picture on the screen right now, and they're asking who's going to bring the customers in. I swear, if you walk into a restaurant and you see just the employees huddled around together, looking like Temu Avengers or something, we'll call them Bistro Bandits or something. You take that as a sign to maybe I should get out of here. And don't forget to hold the door for the tumbleweed to follow you out. Because it's empty. There's no way you should all be stood there like that. Surely there's like cleaning or something to do. And that's brought back horrible flashbacks. When I was working in retail, you could be stood there for 1 second talking to someone, right? Maybe it is about work. The manager will come out, they saw you in the cameras or something, like Batman, they've been watching you. Look, there's one speck of dust there. Clean it. So I kind of sound like my ex-managers, but like, you know, there's literally cameras on the show. Look busy. But I've gone out the door with the tumbleweed, it's my new best friend. But I'm going to pop my head back in because I have a question. And that question, of course, is what's the problem here then? Do you know what I mean? Because clearly we're all huddled around. It's not busy. I get that. So what's the issue? Sous chef Daniela goes on to say that Tatiana is the problem of the restaurant and that her stubbornness to change anything is a huge focal point.
Feels like she doesn't have to change things. It's ridiculous.
If they don't like this tiramisu, they're crazy.
Now everyone's got their dislikes and their likes about food. I might like something, you might think that something is ass. It's life, it's food. And granted, maybe one person's opinion on your food, on your menu, doesn't mean you need to go back to the kitchen and do up whole drawing boards and change the whole thing because it is one person. But whilst I believe that one person's opinion doesn't mean that you have to dictate everything else going forward based off of that opinion, there might be lessons to learn here and there, you know? Going as far as to say the customers are crazy for what they think, it sort of implies that you think your opinion outweighs theirs. And to be honest, in most cases, there is opportunity to learn from others. Obviously, if we're talking someone and their opinions are bigoted, right, and they're very hateful, well, you can head out the door with the tumbleweed, do you know what I mean? But you could learn something, as I mentioned, from people here and there. I mentioned it earlier, but saying a customer's opinion on food is crazy sounds again to me like Tatiana is thinking with her heart, right? Going off of emotions rather than results, and rather than thinking logically. But logic apparently isn't that common anymore. From what I've learned watching a lot of nonsense on this channel, Daniela goes on to say that the food is, well, not the best, and Casemiro has been working as a head chef in the restaurant for 14 years. Yes, hello Casemiro, a wonderful character who we'll get into more as time goes on. Casemiro's quality, or lack thereof, has made the restaurant suffer. Whilst Daniela is saying all this, I have to show you this screenshot I took of the B-roll that they were using. Can we look at this? Just look at your screen right now and tell me what am I supposed to be looking at, please. That is a brain. You know, Tatiana's not thinking logically, so am I safe to assume that's her brain on a plate with just some creamy looking, I don't know, tomato sauce poured over it? Well, I don't understand what that's supposed to be. Not to mention the audacity to slap 2 thin slices of tomato and a leaf on the plate, and I swear to you, they probably called that garnish. Garnish? Maybe varnish this. Get it out my sight. Varnish. Okay, maybe the joke doesn't really work, but that's taking the piss. Please, everyone. Is it a garnish? Is it a salad? Is it a side salad? Because if it is, we can have it on the side of me leaving the establishment. Also, completely unrelated, but can you see that? I don't know when I've scratched myself or something, but I blame the brain on the plate. Okay, I blame it, it's hurt me physically. One of the servers, Kelsey, goes on to say that Tatiana's management involves her walking around with a glass of wine, and Daniela calls her rude.
You're talking out of your ass.
Most people end up crying.
Don't you dare. I need a drink.
You know, if this is supposedly your dream, I think you're going about showing it in a very bad way. Being an owner is one thing, but then thinking because you're the owner you can disrespect your employees, well, that's another thing entirely, isn't it? I know it seems silly, maybe, to say what I'm about to say, but she walks around like she owns the place, and not in a good way. She's not really setting a good example to the rest of the staff if she's whimsically frolicking, frolicking. That sounds like some sort of posh biscuit. Bring out the frolickerings, my darling. Get a grip. If she's whimsically frolicking around the place with a drink, it's not really setting a good example. Kind of shows your staff that if you don't care, with everything quite literally on the line, yeah? If you don't care, why should I care? It's not my restaurant. It's not my mum or my sister's livelihoods on the line. So, meh. Having worked with a variety of people in my many years of working as a pawn in a machine, you know the vibes. You're just there. You're a statistic, you donkey. Okay, I get it. Having been a part of that sort of machine, in all my years of trying to earn something, I know that there's a distinction between a boss and a leader. Also, she's acting like she's got no responsibilities. I know I just touched on it like a few seconds ago, but need I remind you that your mum and sister have put their homes on the line for this? I've got to point that out in case it was forgotten.
Don't drink so much, okay?
My mom and my sister already resent me for asking them to put their houses on the line.
Oh my god, insert generic YouTube thumbnail face here. What a shocking revelation. It's worse than that, because you asked them to do that. In my opinion, this is basically spitting in their face by not taking all of this seriously. We cover a lot of romance scams on the channel, and I actually liken Tatiana's behavior here to those catfish victims who lie and essentially steal from their family to further fund their lovers' bullshit. You're being incredibly selfish, and that angers me. So I can't imagine the desperation, the despair that your mum and sister are feeling watching you frolic about the place, mate. You know, you're prancing around with a glass of bubbly. Nothing is bubbly. Pop the bubbles. Let's come back down to earth, shall we? By the way, I must emphasize that her saying you're talking out of your ass, she's saying that to her sister. Bro, my house is on the line. Don't be speaking to me like that. I couldn't imagine myself talking to someone who not only is helping me out, helping me chase a dream, but they've put their literal home on the line for that. I couldn't imagine myself talking to someone like that. Now, devil's advocate, and this is a painful time to devil's advocate, but I sometimes like to look at things from different angles, right? But this is painful. The devil's pitchfork is well and true me. It's truly inside me. It's painful for me to say this. Sometimes, and I've said it before, sometimes people do take advantage. You do something for them, and they do take advantage by bringing it up repeatedly, saying, oh, you gotta do this for me because I did this for you in the past, XYZ. You ask questions. Did you really help me because you wanted to? Or did you help because now you've got this leverage over me? So what I'm trying to say is, because someone does help you, it doesn't mean you're obliged to do whatever it is they say and essentially take shit from them. However, here's where I'm drawing very big distinctions. Homes are quite literally at stake. And this is the business world. When I say what I say, don't let people treat you like shit because they've done something in the past. More times, I'm just referring to relationships that become toxic, XYZ. When it concerns big moolahs, when it concerns me potentially getting homeless, oh, well, we've got really big shoes to fill here. Okay, we're in different territory. So basically, the least you could do is talk to me with some respect. If you thought it couldn't get worse, it obviously gets worse, because Tatiana literally takes no accountability in anything.
They play the blame game. This is Tatiana's fault. We wouldn't be in this mess if it wasn't for Tatiana. But they didn't put a gun to their head.
I don't think I need to say much here, but given the fact it's me, I'm gonna start saying just one sentence and it's gonna turn into a novel. I hate people who victimize their own selves in an attempt to strip away accountability. I find it so disrespectful to ask for help, receive the help, and then later act like you didn't want the help when you are being called out for your shitty behavior. That's straight up manipulation. This is your family, and they helped you because you not only wanted it, you needed it. And I think we need to put emphasis on the wanted part, because I don't think, and I obviously can't speak for Pat and Val, but, so I'll rephrase it. Do you think they would have helped if she didn't say or give off the vibe of how much she wanted it? Do you think they would have helped? You wanted it very much, so they felt like they had to because they love you, right? So in a way, metaphorically, maybe you do have a pew-pew to them. Pew!
I really need Chef Ramsay's help.
No, I'm scared what's going to happen.
I just don't understand, what else I could do.
Is it just me saying to themselves, I don't think you've done anything? Without even making changes to the menu, I don't think you can say you've exhausted all your options when you haven't even tried that. Now, the main event. For all my wrestling heads, it's like when John Cena returns, okay? Put that in the main event right now. Gordon Ramsay walks in. Tatiana's nervously laughing about the whole thing. I mean, I'd probably get a bit giddy if I was stood beside Gordon Ramsay, but maybe that's just me. She explains that she was a waitress and that the original owner, Charlie, sold it to Simon, who essentially ran it into the ground and, dumped it, which eventually means that it was dumped on her. But she does say that she took it over and she loves the place, but Val has to chime in, and I think it was rightfully so that she chimed in.
We took it over.
Honestly, if I'm stood there hearing my part in the restaurant, my place amongst the ownership, questioned, discredited even, like that, I'm flipping a lid, bro. Forget the kitchen. I'm boiling. Gordon and the family go outside so he can get up to speed on all things Charlie. And that's Charlie's. Gotta specify, because I think Charlie might be a slang term for some substance, so maybe I should refrain from saying Charlie, but once again, we gotta do everything we need to do to get through this. I feel some sort of pride in Gordon telling Tatiana something that I said earlier.
I've loved this restaurant. I've worked here since I was 20 years old.
I know, but working in a business to running a business, completely two different
Yeah,
scenarios.
it's completely different.
You might be asking yourself, okay, just how much has Tatiana actually invested into this? Her mum put up her entire retirement fund, her home. Val put up her condo. So, Tatiana, are you pulling your weight here? What's on the table from you?
And how much money did you put in?
Probably $1,000.
Okay.
Oh, $1 million. Oh, so much money Tatiana's put into this. The nonchalant attitude, huh? $1,000. Well, buck me then. Sorry to keep harping on about this, but to have a full-time job, to come and support someone else's dream, no less, at the same time. And seeing them not take it seriously, not make changes, again prance about the place with a glass of bubbly, I can't imagine how Pat and Val truly feel. Tatiana says that she doesn't know what's gone wrong, and Gordon rightfully says that Simon essentially ran this place to the ground, and you didn't make any changes coming off the back of that. So, if you're not changing a restaurant that's already in the ground, do you know what I mean? It's so far down, the devil's doing jump rope with it. You can't say you don't know what's gone wrong when you haven't even attempted to make any changes. How can you expect different results by doing the same thing again and again? It's quite literally the definition of insanity, Tatiana. Family drama now takes center stage and Val expresses how she feels. It's revealed that Tatiana has either had her car paid for or someone bought her a car and her phone bills are taken care of. I assume by her mum, but I don't really know. But either way, however you want to look at things, I could take my glasses off, look at it. I could put my glasses back on, look at it. It doesn't matter. This is crazy, bro. I don't mean to sound like a salty boy, okay? Cool, you could argue I've dumped myself into a great big bucket of the finest pink Himalayan, alright? Maybe I might sound salty. But Tatiana screams of having a silver spoon literally forced into her mouth just at every point in her life. And cool, you might argue, she was working as a waitress. Yeah, but sometimes people with, silver spoons, they go and work and they know they have the riches to fall back on. Or in this case, quite literally, the homes of her mum and sister. But she reminds me of someone with a silver spoon who doesn't really take anything seriously because, look, I've got the support. I don't need to do anything. So call me salty if you want, but it drives me up the wall. But I will bring myself off of the wall because I'm ready, seated, just as Gordon is seated to finally try some of the food. He orders a toasted ravioli, and can I be honest? I had to Google what a toasted ravioli is because I didn't know they existed. He also orders the frutte de mer, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which is some sort of seafood and pasta combination. And to be honest, if you're coming on a show such as Kitchen Nightmares, or if you are going to a low-rated place perhaps, maybe avoid the seafood, because from all the stories I've heard about food poisoning, when they concern seafood, you got food poisoning dialed up to the max. Probably avoid putting them prawns in your mouth, baby. He also gets the lasagna, and Genevieve, one of the servers, gives him a warning.
It's not your typical lasagna, so be prepared for something different.
If you decided to still be in the restaurant after you've seen the Bistro bandits all lined up, ready to take a free kick, ready for anything, ready for action. They're all lined up, ready for a dating game of pop the balloon. If you're still there after you receive a warning from the server, you are a better person than me, okay? Surely the server warning you about the food is enough to make... Hold on, do I jeopardize my life for a lasagna? And the big question here, of course, what do you mean the lasagna is different? This is an Italian restaurant, is it not? Not this place. I mean, not bloody with Spider-Man and a mess in the background. This ain't bloody Italian restaurant. But it's symbolic of the mess of Charlie's, I guess. Gordon tucks into some of Casimiro's finest freshly baked bread, and I mean, just look at the screen, man. If your bread looks like it's sponsored by Play-Doh, please run away? Speaking of food not being the best and wanting to run away, not Daniela. I mean, she probably wants to run away, but Daniela says the following about the food.
I don't like any of the food, so I really don't think that he will either.
It's always encouraging to hear the kitchen staff not like the food. Huh? It's one thing for the servers, you know what I mean? Like, cool, servers don't like the food. They're not really the ones preparing it, right? So you could chalk it up as a preference thing. But the people making the food don't like the food? Well, what are we doing here then? However, I feel like it's important to back it up big booty style because I want to show you the toasted ravioli. As someone who had to Google toasted ravioli, maybe my opinion is invalid here. But look at this, they don't look toasted to me. Although I'm not a professional chef or anything, I eat a lot of food. Okay, that's a plug to the second channel. I put it in the pinned comment or the description box. Go check it out. I eat a lot of stuff. Sometimes they're very weird foods. But I got the knowledges about me sometimes. I don't think that's toasted. And Gordon agrees that the toasted is not in the room with us.
Wow. Which bit's the toasted bit?
Yeah, I never have recommended the ravioli.
I'll say one thing though, I really appreciate Genevieve's honesty here, because if you're honest with yourself, honest about the restaurant, about the food, I think there's scope there to improve as long as you're not in denial. And I believe, alongside all of that, being honest to the customers as well, for example, you truly care about the restaurant because of the honesty. It's like if you truly care about someone in a relationship, and I'm sorry to keep mentioning relationships, but we talk a lot about relationships on the channel. You would be honest to the person, your partner, because you care about them. And that's why I liken this to. You care about the restaurant, be honest. You know, holding yourself accountable and acknowledging when you make a mistake or, you know, you commit some kind of wrongdoing. You acknowledge it. You dust yourself off or something, you learn from it, and you keep it sepping. Not cover your... Do up Bird Box with, wrongdoings or mistake. You get the point. Gordon obviously isn't a fan of the toasted ravioli, and he makes Tatiana try the raw, supposed toasted ravioli. And, well, look, if you're making this face before you even eat your own food, technically, there's big problems.
He said taste it and agree with him in 86 seconds.
What I find fascinating is that Tatiana, the literal owner of the place, takes the food back, but it's like some sort of taboo to tell the chef that they've royally ballsed it up.
Don't say anything to the chefs, just let them be calm. Calm like that, no, it's okay.
Sorry, but, we're not dealing with children here. Or at least, I don't think we are, if we're talking about quite literally an adult head chef standing in front of you. We're not dealing with children here. You can't just sweep things under the rug in the sake of, I gotta be nice and encouraging, Literally, there are many things at stake here. If a chef is making ass food, you gotta tell them, hey man, you're making ass food here, please. I don't know why I added please there. That sort of implies you're begging for ass food to come towards you. And no, ass food, it sounds like some sort of food that inside me. What is this video descending into? But again, putting the ass food aside, Tatiana is thinking with her heart again. You cannot do this in a business, please. And let me know in the comments if you, for example, have experience running a business, or maybe you shadow someone who runs a business. I don't think you can heavily rely on emotions, but that might just be me. The fruta de mer also arrives, and the pasta is like mush, quite literally. It makes this noise. I'm just going to bring the microphone here. like that kind of noise. And I'm really sorry if you're listening to this in the background. No, we didn't put on an adult film in the background. Genevieve, again, is honest about everything and says Casemiro just keeps sending out bad food. And Tatiana, of course, is upset by this.
Genevieve doesn't shut up.
The lasagna makes an appearance, and it's the bloody brain that we were looking at earlier.
What the hell is that? What
It's
is
the
that?
lasagna.
That's the lasagna?
Gordon questions the recipe, and it turns out this is Casemiro's special own recipe sauce called pink sauce, which, if you remember that viral pink sauce that came from TikTok, I mean, Casemiro did it first. So, you know, kudos. Well done, Casemiro. Except it's not even pink, by the way. Like, shouldn't it be pink if we're calling it pink sauce? The lasagna is hot in parts, cold in other parts, like some sort of twisted make-believe country that's half in the equator, half out of it. The logistics are all wrong there. Do not question me, please. You should be questioning, as Gordon is questioning, has the food been microwaved? Genevieve says it might be. Tatiana, again from the background, says Genevieve shouldn't ask her questions that she doesn't know, and I said answer wrong, but at this point I'm very much flustered because of pink brain lasagnas, okay? Of course, Tatiana says, you don't know anything, don't answer it. You could cut the tension here with a knife. Okay, get the chef's knives out. It's getting feisty here. I'll tell you for free, though, that if a chef cannot microwave food properly, you know, maybe they're in the wrong line of work, okay? I don't mean to shit on anyone's bonfire, but maybe you should not be a head chef of a decade plus, by the way, in an Italian restaurant if you can't make a lasagna. I don't know if that's bursting any bubbles, but surely that's got to be a prerequisite to work as a head chef in an Italian restaurant. MC Hammer, if he was a teenage mutant ninja turtle, rock with me here, bear with me. It's pizza time! And that doesn't fill me with much promise either.
Sí, pero no es como menos cocido.
What's it?
You don't know. Sure. I mean, let's just risk all the diseases, shall we? Now I'm actually conflicted on the pizza. I'll show you on the screen right now. It kind of looks alright. Or is it just me? And the fact that I love me a good homely looking pizza, if that makes sense. You know, the vibes look homely. But looks can be deceiving. How does this bad boy taste? Now, Gordon uses a word that not long ago, right, I would have thought, well, that's a good thing for a pizza, right? He says it's doughy, which obviously refers to the dough itself, the bread. It's a bit... that's a bit too much. We're eating the bloody Play-Doh bread from before. And he says the pastry is raw. He also goes on to say that he doesn't think anything is homemade, which for me, for a bistro, is very concerning.
You seriously have a kitchen nightmare?
Oh, Tatiana said the thing. She said the thing. You know, we're on Kitchen Nightmares and it's a kitchen nightmare. Oh, I bet the producers, when she said that, the producers were in the truck with the headphones on. Yeah, clip that. I say clip that. You know, was TikTok, it wasn't a thing back then, was it? I don't think so. But Instagram, could you post videos on Instagram? I don't know, man. It would have gone viral nowadays, I guess. Gordon heads into the kitchen and, as you would expect, let's be honest, he lays into them all, tearing them new booty holes.
It's not even mediocre. The food is hideous.
I just trusted him to know what he was doing because he's been doing it for so long.
Let's be real here. Let's be frank. He doesn't seem like a good chef. Okay, cool. However, after all this time as a head chef, let alone in a bloody Italian restaurant, you can't cook up Italian food. Do you know what I mean? I understand you might not be the best, but you're either lazy and you don't give a shit because you haven't seemingly learned anything in all that time, or genuinely, you gotta find something else to do, man. And her saying she trusts him after all this time and stuff, in my opinion, that's her, again, not taking accountability. I understand you supposedly trust him. Very much, it seems, because you can't forget that there's a lot on the line here and people's literal homes are at stake. Everything that's been poured into making your dream a reality. You can't just trust someone's going to do something. You gotta check up on them. But Gordon makes a good point, and of course, I agree with him.
No, the problem is, he's got away with it for so long.
Going back on what I said, I believe, allegedly, that he just doesn't give a shit, right? He sees how trusting Tatiana is and how much he lets slide. So he just figures, F it, like, I'm not gonna do anything then, because I quite literally have the most stable head chef job in the world. I think this is a good example of something I said in another video, that some people do show strangers more love than they do their own family. I know Casemiro is not really a stranger to Tatiana after all this time, but, and as much as some people might say after that amount of time, your family as well, he's not really family. Where are we drawing the line? Because how much can he get away with when your mum and sister's homes are on the line? I gave the example before of you guys, for example. Much love to you all, okay? I gave the example of you guys supporting the channel when no one outside of my mum and brother really give a shit about this and, put it down, disregard it, say all sorts of mean stuff. So what's the science behind that? Like, does anyone know why certain people are so horrible to family, but will, drop everything to protect someone who's a stranger in comparison? What's the science behind that? Gordon asks to see the muscles. Well, you can't really see that. Look, Gordon, they're here. No, the muscles from the fruta de mer. Okay, so they pull out some big-ass bucket from the freezer. And can I ask a question? Because as someone who is plant-based, obviously, it's very obvious from here, I don't have much experience in mussels. So why is there... Great question from the motorbike out there. That's what I assume must be going on in Casemiro's brain. Why is there, green ice on that picture? Can anyone tell me what's going on there?
What else do you freeze?
I don't know.
Again, I sound like a parrot, but you have to understand it's a very big thing for someone to do for you. It sucks to see Tatiana, in my opinion, abuse the fact that her mum and sister have put so much into the restaurant, but also abuse the fact that she's not taking her dream seriously. And when I say that the dream is sort of being abused, just obviously this is a bit exaggerated and whatnot, but imagine how many people out there in the world have a dream and don't have the luxury of having someone else literally put their life on the line for that dream and scratch and claw and struggle to even make it 1% of a reality. And then here's Tatiana just doing a madness, right? So again, call me salty if you want. She's just abusing just too much, man. If I can give anyone watching this my 2 pence, and literally, it's 2 pence, most of what I say, just take it with a pinch of salt, and dare I say all of it, okay? Not too much salt though. Don't give yourself high cholesterol and stuff. But chase after your dreams if you really think it's your dream, okay? If you've said it's your dream, go after it. Granted, sometimes maybe there'll come a point where you're like, I don't have the passion for this anymore. Then that's a different story. But if you do still have the passion for something, put your all in, because you don't want to look back in however many years later, look back and regret the amount or the little amount that you put in. Because sometimes, we don't get a second chance to chase a dream. So chase it, go after it. If you really want it, put your all into it. Gordon this time himself takes a look in the freezer and finds frozen pizza dough, enough frozen pasta to bloody last you a lifetime. And not only that, pasta's overcooked. It's overcooked and frozen. I feel like that's an oxymoron, but I mean, look, maybe it was my brain on the plate. Also, completely unrelated, but my mind went there, and I have to share it with you because I can't be the only one to picture this. This image of all the noodles and leather boots, right? It's like a freaky night, where like some strange BDSM is happening. You're being whipped by linguini. Just, oh, that's crazy, huh? And then there's meatballs involved. Okay, let's move on swiftly. Casemiro says that he doesn't have the time in the day to make everything, I assume, fresh. So obviously everything's frozen. And ultimately, which probably hurts the restaurant's pockets a lot, I would have said Tatiana, but I don't think anything's coming out of her pockets for this. But a whole bunch of this stuff gets chucked out most nights.
What I'm more concerned about is the fact that you're oblivious. You're like an airhead that's got a head in the clouds.
I personally would have said up her own ass, but clouds work as well. Gordon rightfully lays into her and questions why she even bought this place, and even goes as far as saying that her dragging her mum and sister into this is facilitating her ego dream. I don't think anyone's ever laid it out on the line like Gordon is to her right now, and actually scolded might be too harsh of a word, but laid the harsh truths down. I don't think anyone's ever done this, and shock horror, she's not the biggest fan of this. I think it's the right thing to do, because, shock horror, some people do need a wake-up call. They need a kick in the ass, especially before things get significantly worse. And I liken it again to me dishing out some harsh truths on scam victims and how they do need to take accountability for their own mistakes and wrongdoings in them being scammed. Because yes, there is manipulation, but there are many points in their story where they have made foolish decisions, and you've got to take accountability. Otherwise, you don't learn. You put yourself in a position to let it happen again in the future. And I don't want to even imagine how much worse it can get in a scam victim's case. How much more money are you going to fork over? And then in Tatiana's case, quite literally, your mum and sister become homeless. Now, we move over to Gordon trying some balls and meatballs, I must stress. We're not, maybe I'm still hung up on that freaky linguini whipping or something, but it's meatballs, not balls. He asks both Casemiro, head chef, and Daniela, sous chef, to make some meatballs, and Tatiana, unfortunately, puts pressure on Casemiro by saying he shouldn't have a problem with this. I mean, he's worked in an Italian restaurant for 15 years, so I expect him to also not have any issues. And I think it's interesting, by the way, that Tatiana says 15 years. Daniela said 14 years before. Nobody knows how long he's actually worked there. Is he a ghost? He just shows up, he puts brains on a plate, calls it lasagna, and just disappears into the night. I don't understand how nobody knows how long he's actually worked there, and it's quite concerning, actually. I can forgive Daniela, but can I forgive the owner for not knowing how long the head chef's been there? My brain. But anyway, as you would expect, this is Kitchen Nightmares. Of course, the chef of a 14 plus years in an Italian restaurant as the head chef is going to F up meatballs. Gordon walks back in to check up on the progress of the balls, and just look at Casimiro's face. You cannot tell me that is the sign of someone confident about their balls, okay? We got serious problems if your head chef is looking this concerned about the food he's making. We talked about a ghost earlier on. We talked about Casemiro being a ghost. He quite literally looks like he's seen a bloody ghost. Gordon points out that his balls haven't even been fried, just straight dipped into the boil. Oh my god, my head just went to the image of me sitting in a very hot bath, and my balls are just being dipped into the boil. Too many ball jokes are happening at this point. But just look at this meatball. Why does it also look like a brain, bro? Everything coming out of this kitchen looks like brains. I don't know what's going on. Someone either very much played a joke and said, in the production team, hey, I really love Plants vs. Zombies. When there's brains. Just make everything look like brains for me. Inside joke. Or they're really that bad. And of course, the obvious joke, and I think I made it earlier with Tatiana, that they're brains. And that's why it's in the food, because it's just fallen out. But it's not that funny the second time, and probably wasn't even funny the first time. Daniela, of course, makes the better tasting meatball. Gordon is a fan, of course. But then Tatiana pisses me off again.
I don't think he's a bad cook. Necesitamos enseñarlo. Tú eres bueno. Casimiro, you're bueno.
Teach him? He's the head chef, Tatiana. He should be teaching others. And look, I'm all for people learning new skills, picking up new things, no matter what your age is, because there's always something to learn in life if you really want to go out there and learn something new. Cool. But this man is a head chef at an Italian restaurant for 14/15 years and can't make a bloody meatball. So what's been going on the whole time? People have been eating brains on spaghetti, bro? We have to draw the line somewhere, surely. Because this man is stealing a living, in my opinion. And again, she cares more about his feelings than the fact her family have put their homes on the line for this. And, it baffles me because, she's giving selfish, right? But she's not even thinking about her own self as the restaurant is going down. Because, you would be like, oh, my livelihood here is crashing and burning. Surely I should be at least selfish to myself and try and make it better. So, I'm just confused. I don't get it. Maybe she thinks someone else is going to pick up the slack for her and she'll have another opportunity like this in the future. I don't know if the silver spoon is doing radiation inside her body. Too much metal. But I'm kerfuffled. We cut back to service and Daniela is reading orders to Casemiro. And the thing he is about to say here, I just fell off my chair. I couldn't believe it. I need someone to clarify if he won't work fast because physically he's unable to, or he just doesn't give a shit to. We sort of get the clarification to my question because Daniela tells Gordon that She doesn't know why he wants to work that way. You know, maybe one ticket at a time. And Casemiro, look at the screen, says, forget about him. Ah, yes. Forget about the Donny trying to save the restaurant and technically save your job as well. Yeah, just forget it. He's the ghost now. He's not there. Forget it. What is the point? I have to again attribute Casemiro's behavior here to Tatiana's nonchalant attitude. It's like rubbed off on him, and if your owner doesn't care and your head chef doesn't care, what's the point of the restaurant then? Close. This environment isn't an ideal place for anything, to be honest. It doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter what we're focusing on. If someone doesn't care, get out. I always struggle to understand people who ask for help on these type of shows. Again, maybe it's a catfish show, social catfish. The victims asking for help, or in this case, Tatiana obviously surely reaching out to the bloody Kitchen Nightmares production team or something. Do you know what I mean? And then just not taking advice. So, what are we doing here, wasting everyone's time?
Dining room's patience
I'm so hungry.
is being tested.
It's okay, guys. Hold on. Your microwave lasagna is on its way.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Customers ultimately realize that the food isn't worth the wait, and whilst Casemiro is burning his meatballs, it seems he's grown some extra large balls himself because he has some words for Gordon.
Okay, you cook it. Now he's getting upset with me because I caught him out.
Again, what a shock that the owner who doesn't take accountability and seemingly doesn't care about any responsibility, that sort of coddling behavior that she's shown to Casemiro, all of that has rubbed off on him as well. I believe what we're witnessing, there's no respect from either of them for how much other people have given to make this restaurant even a thing. And Gordon literally just showed you, like a few minutes ago, how to make a bloody meatball. So what you're saying doesn't even make sense. It literally gets worse because as you see on the screen, he's laughing about it all. Big man, there's nothing funny here, okay? Just treat it as if I said one of my stupid jokes. Nothing is funny. Casemiro says he doesn't even want to cook anymore, which is just childish. No, it's like literally throwing your toys out the pram. Like when you tell off a child, no, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, okay, but it's good that someone's called you out on your bullshit. But unfortunately, because of that, he's thrown his toys out the pram. Tatiana is very emotional, of course, and her and Gordon take a step outside. Gordon makes a very interesting point about why Casemiro is still here.
When a chef outlasts two owners already, trust me, there's something not quite right.
Gordon goes on to add that if Charlie really believed and invested as much time or care into Casemiro, then Casemiro would have left with Charlie on his next venture. Gordon actually does go on to justify my thinking that Tatiana is thinking way too much with her heart, but at the same time, she's showing that heart, that care, to the wrong people.
Well, you're scared to upset somebody. Yet you're happy to see all three family members homeless, but they rely on you to manage the restaurant.
After a fiery and moving and inspirational conversation, one that even got me excited, I was on the edge of my seat, ready to open my own bloody restaurant, Tatiana goes back inside. And, seemingly, she's understood the gravity of the situation now.
I guess I just have been walking around with like a sheet over my face and not seeing these little things that are so easy to see.
I know firsthand that sometimes we are not able to see our own detrimental behavior because it's us. We we maybe don't give ourselves that time to take a step back, or very much we get heated and we think we're right. But I do hope everyone has the ability to recognize before it's too late that what you're doing might not always be what is best. I hope we can understand, and I mentioned it before, we're not always going to have someone to lean on. Tatiana's very lucky to have her mum and sister do what they've done for her, but she's also very lucky that Gordon has come to help out her restaurant, and we're not always going to have that luxury of someone to guide us through things or someone to lean on. So it's unfortunate that sometimes, I think actually most times, we should learn to handle situations ourselves. Now, that's not me saying every single situation you need to handle yourself, because then there are times where it is a burden upon yourself, it gets very stressful and you can't do it alone. So of course, reach out for support, and if that comes in the way of professional support, then don't be afraid to show that vulnerability. I believe there's strength in vulnerability, but certain times we're gonna have to guide our own selves through things. So please recognize that you're not always going to be in the right. She makes the tough decision, and personally, it wouldn't be tough for me, but maybe I can't really speak too much on it as I don't run a restaurant and I haven't had to, spoiler alert, fire someone that I've known for more than a decade. What I find interesting is Casimiro's reaction to the firing.
Lo siento mucho, Casimiro.
Obviously, it's very tough to lose a job, and I know that firsthand. The emotions are running wild, and you might say or do things that in the moment you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But consider how much care she has for Casimiro. I feel like him pushing her away whilst trying to console him is crazy to me. It got me thinking, doing up my devil on one shoulder, angel on the other. It got me thinking on this side where the naughty boy is sitting. Did he care for Tatiana the same way she cared for him? Or was he just simply coasting by on a job that he seemingly wasn't ever gonna get fired from if it wasn't for Gordon, and allegedly taking advantage of Tatiana? Let me know your thoughts. I'll tell you this for free as well. If I had the skills like Casimiro to fake it until you make it, bloody, I would have a gazillion pounds or something. I'd be throwing the moolahs up in the air, because he faked it until he made it. Quite literally. What a head chef that he can't bloody cook. Or, again, I'm doing up devil's advocate here, but maybe he just stopped caring, right? He saw how much Tatiana cared for him, and allegedly just, I don't care, I'm just gonna half-ass everything. But I think it's also funny that Donnie even dropped a ciao, guys, as he was leaving. Fair enough, man. I gotta question if he cares or not. Ciao, guys. He seems so happy about it. Like, maybe it's an act, right? Maybe it's, or I'm playing up for the cameras, maybe I'm not affected by this, whatever, but I think that's disrespectful, I can't lie. Tatiana, again, this time she's crying, is visibly emotional, but I think this was for the best. Not only is it best for the restaurant and her dream of the restaurant, but I think it's best for the family who've put their literal lives on the line for this restaurant. Sometimes you have to make tough decisions, And if the person on the other end of the decision, a friendship, a relationship maybe, if that person, I believe, truly cared for you, they would understand the decision. I don't want to say accept it, because, or at least right there and there accept it, because emotions again might be running high. But they would understand why you have to make that decision and not think about things selfishly. Again, I bring up the point of, or the example of a relationship. If you yourself are not happy with the other individual, obviously I recommend communicating things first, because maybe it is genuinely things that you can work out. But if you have communicated and things haven't improved, XYZ, and you do make the decision that, this person, they've got to go, or you've got to go, whichever one, right? I would hope that they understand it, because they have to acknowledge that you are putting yourself first in terms of your mental health, and there's nothing wrong with that. So hopefully all that makes sense.
Jonathan, come through, please.
Oh my God.
Good to see you, bud. This man knows how to put restaurants on the map. More importantly, he's been working with me for the last 3 years. He's opened 4 restaurants in the last 5 years. You've got him for the month.
With the new chef, Gordon and the team get stuck in, and even Tatiana is helping prep the food in the kitchen. The new menu is introduced, and as you can see on the screen here, the food, in my opinion, looks a lot better. Definitely more of a bistro vibe to it, which I think is best for the restaurant. Also, side note, I love bread. Hang on, rock with me, okay? Not the rock-like bread that we saw at the beginning. None of that stone pebble nonsense, okay? But just rock with me here. I love bread, and I try to limit and even not have it at all in my own food that I make for myself, because I decided to phrase that sentence like that. I try to limit it at home, but it's because when I go out, most of the time the bread is scrumptious. I don't know if it's my taste buds just having a little boogie because I don't often eat bread, but often the bread in restaurants are very nice, so it's like a treat for myself. So when I saw this focaccia on screen, I cannot tell you what was happening to me. Okay? No joke, I was hungry when I was writing the notes for this video. I didn't go eat bread because I don't have bread. But, things were happening. Unfortunately, the new chef, the new menu, the new food wasn't enough for relaunch night to go smoothly. Lack of communication between staff means that food is going out hella late, and some customers are getting their food, but the rest of the table are not, so you're sat there just looking at someone eating. And take it from me, I've been to some bad restaurants in my life. That is not a pleasant experience to be a part of, because you're sitting there, grumble in your stomach, and it's just hella not good. Now, this might come as a surprise to some of you, but Tatiana actually steps up big time with all this chaos unfolding. She pulls everyone together in an effort to make communication more of a flow, better between the staff. Food now starts getting out on time and correctly. Customers are enjoying the food, and at the end of the night, Gordon praises the team and the potential of the restaurant. But we close out the episode with Gordon heaping bounds of praise on Tatiana. In my opinion, it's all lovely and whatnot. It's great, nice. My heart is pounding for you. But a part of me, the cynical part of me, thinks it's quite sad that someone had to step in, especially someone like Gordon, because again, how often are restaurants gonna have Gordon walking in through the door to help them? It's sad that he had to step in for Tatiana to pattern up, basically. Now, I'm glad, of course, it did happen, But in a tragic case where perhaps Gordon doesn't come here, what would have happened to Pat and Val? Now, as I was saying earlier, sometimes we gotta learn to pull through ourselves, and that doesn't necessarily, again, mean that you have to do it all yourself, but you have to be able to at least recognize that your behavior is playing a part in whatever it is that is spiraling. And I would hope, with professional support as well if need be, that we're able to get out of it ourselves rather than, again, falling on luck or falling on the financial gains of another individual to help prop us up. Sometimes we have to do it ourselves. But overall, of course, I am happy for the whole restaurant and Tatiana that they were able to some sort of way salvage everything. And you might be asking, what happened next? Unfortunately, that's where things get a little bit upsetting. Chef Jonathan stayed on for the month to help find and train a new head chef, and some of the more recent reviews were even promising, I would say. If you look at the screen, for example, and pause it, have a little read, genuinely there were good signs for the restaurant following Gordon Ramsay's visit. Now, from the reviews that I did find, sure, as you can see on the screen, some of them weren't the best. However, for the most part, they were 4 and 5 star reviews. But, as you can see, the reviews kind of stopped after June of 2012, and that's because 8 months after Gordon Ramsay's visit, in July of 2012, the restaurant, unfortunately, closed. As of recording in, August 2025, the location actually does have a restaurant there, but it's a Mediterranean restaurant under the name of Cafe X20. I tried to find out what Casemiro was doing because he's the main character here, right? I tried to find out what he was doing, but there was no real news on what he was doing after this. And Tatiana went into the entertainment news industry, reportedly working as a photo editor. During editing, I also found out that since the restaurant closed, Tatiana was actually in a few movies doing up acting. And she was also a production assistant on Up in Smoke, which, as you can see, was a short TV movie about a magician or something. So it's good to see she's been keeping busy, but ultimately there's not too much on her. But as you can see, she's been busy. I also couldn't find anything really on Daniela, so let me know in the comments, of course, if you know what happened to Daniela and Casemiro, of course. And reportedly, Pat and Val carried on working at the school they were working at, which was mentioned as their full-time job earlier on. And the saddest news to come out from the aftermath was that, unfortunately, Genevieve, the very honest server who I very much appreciated, she unfortunately lost her life to epilepsy complications. I hope she's resting in peace, and I send my condolences to her friends and her family. If there's anything to take from this episode of Kitchen Nightmares, is don't be afraid to hurt someone's feelings if they are a detriment to you, your mental health, your business perhaps. At the end of the day, business is business. If you or others around you are suffering because of something, someone, don't be afraid to hurt them. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this. Do let me know in the comments. Do let me know if you do want to see more Gordon Ramsay shows. Hopefully this is well received. I did enjoy filming this, as I'm sure it might come across on camera. So do let me know, and I will see you next time. For what? I'm not sure. Mixing up the bag here, you know? I mean, I'll never give you a brain on a plate and call you and say it's a lasagna. you know. But I'll give you something. That sounds dirty. See you later. Take care of yourselves. Bye. I kind of want some pink sauce now, though.